All praises unto our power, Yahweh, Bahasham, Yahweh Shai, Bahasham Warakakwadash. Peace, blessings, much respect to the elders and the apostles of Great Millstone, on down to the rest of the elders who rule well within Israel. Salutations to the hopeful elect throughout the four corners of this whole entire earth, no matter where, whom they may be, or what they may look like, pushing out this purified truth. To the rest of the church who believe as well, you men who may not be teachers or prophets, you women, sons and daughters also, and the water to Yahweh Shai, because without him enduring and going to that cross for the nation of Israel and the nation of Israel alone, none of this would even be possible whatsoever. A feeling that you're going to feel often in this truth is the feeling of grief. And that feeling of grief comes with increasing in knowledge. Okay, when you increase in knowledge, you increase in sorrow. Being in this society is just total darkness. Coming into this truth, you become illuminated with the light. So it's literally opposite of this world that we are in. We are surrounded by opposition. We are surrounded with people who have contrary spirits to ours. We're tired of seeing the wickedness in this society. We're tired of the unjustness. We're tired of the unfairness. We're sick and tired of being sick and tired. And when you keep saying you're tired and you're sick and tired and this and that, you can guarantee that's going to weigh heavy on your mind. Now, when you go to the book of Ezekiel, chapter 9 and verse 4, it says, "And the Lord said unto him, go through the midst of the city, through the midst of Jerusalem." So there's an angel going through Israelites, okay, and he's placing a mark upon them, okay. "And the Lord said unto him, go through the midst of the city, through the midst of Jerusalem, and set a mark upon the foreheads of the men that sigh and that cry, for all the abominations that be done in the midst thereof." So there are men and even women who are actually complaining about all the wicked, evil abominations that are in this world that we are in. The majority of people, they're not going to feel that way because they're immersed in this world so much. They're a part of it. They're a part of the issue. Us in this ministry, starting with the teachers and the prophets on down to the rest of the church, all the other believers, we have a different spirit upon us. We see things differently from others. We see things different than what we used to see. And for even a lot of us back in the world when we were in darkness, we still knew something was wrong. We still knew something was off. We didn't want to settle with how things were. Okay? So to this day, the men in this ministry have a problem with this society. The believers in this ministry have a problem with how things are being done. Okay? We're sick and tired of it. Okay? "And the Lord said unto him, go through the midst of the city, through the midst of Jerusalem, and set a mark." Now that mark is not speaking of the same mark found in Revelations. Okay? The mark right here is going into the mark of the elect, to be void of judgment. I'm doing a video. So the mark that is speaking of here, like I said, it's a different mark from the mark of the beast found in Revelations. The mark here is going into being void of judgment. Okay? This spiritual mark that's being placed on those who are sighing and crying is going to be a key sign when destruction comes for whoever they are who are marked with this particular mark to not be touched by it. Okay? To be passed over. All right? So we should be in the mentality of sighing and crying, because that shows that we are in the right spirit. Now, when you touch on the book of Ecclesiastes chapter 1 and verse 18, it says, "For in much wisdom is much grief." So with the grief, we're going to sigh and cry. We're going to complain. And that comes from this wisdom. We're wise. We understand that what's happening in this world is not right. We understand we're supposed to be in a better position. We understand that we messed up. And seeing that we understand these things, it's very grievous unto us. And many men cannot handle that grief, that bitterness that comes within this ministry. And it can come so randomly. You could find yourself laughing. You might be joking, having a good time. You might be watching something on TV and give you a chuckle. You might be, scrolling through some videos online. It might give you a chuckle. Okay, you might be around a beautiful woman. She put a smile on your face. But guess what? The bitterness, the grief always comes back. It's always lingering. Okay? Because we are not like everybody else. We are not like this world. We are totally contrary to this society. And it vexes our spirit. Okay? For in much wisdom, and the true wisdom is found within the Bible. For in much wisdom is much grief. And he that increaseth knowledge increaseth sorrow. So the more that we increase in this ministry, the more grief is going to come upon us. Now, when I first came into the truth, I experienced a whole lot of grief, man. And I was just a new guy. So I could never really understand, when I first came in, where's all this coming from? Why is it happening like this? Because, reading scriptures like this, it says when you increase in knowledge, which also leads me to believe the grief that's within us is also grief that has really been with us our whole life. But coming into this ministry, it's been drawn out of us even more. A lot of us have been dealing with a lot of mental battles even before coming into this ministry. And then you come into this ministry and it's like, oh man, now it's like you're battling every single demon possible from the depths of hell, man. Okay? For much wisdom is much grief, and he that increaseth knowledge increaseth sorrow. So the grief is going to be there. The grief isn't going to go nowhere until Yahweh Shai returns. But we have to bear our grief. So when you go to the book of Jeremiah, chapter 10 and verse 19, woe is me for my hurt. My wound is grievous. But I said, truly, this is a grief, and I must bear it. So when we're going through grief, however it comes, whatever the reason may be behind it, we have to bear it. Going into that word bear, the word is nasa, Hebrews 53:75. Nasa, to lift, bear up, carry, take. Now the scriptures tell us we have to bear or carry our cross. Basically, that's telling us we have to go through the afflictions. Okay? To lift up, to bear, carry, support, sustain, endure. So we have to endure. Going through feelings of grief, lowliness. It could feel like you're going through depression, stress, anxiety. Okay? You might witness things at a higher level than what you once used to. Men in this truth are suffering bipolar disorder, ADHD, and all the above. And then you come into this truth, those things that you were battling in the world, you're still battling them, but now it seems more difficult, right? Because now more is required from you. More is required from us. Okay, and to whom much is given, much is required. This truth is a heavy load. But although it's a heavy load, we have to bear it if we want to receive the prize. Okay, imagine, you got a treasure chest in front of you. But in order for you to enjoy the treasure within this chest, you have to pick it up and carry it to a destination. And then once you receive, or once you reach this destination, you can receive what is inside the treasure. Now, this treasure being this knowledge, wisdom, and understanding, it comes with a lot of grief. So seeing that we have to carry all this grief once we get to that set destination, aka endear till the end, we can open that treasure and receive all the receive all the treasure, receive all the prize, receive all the glory that's within this treasure chest. But we can't open up this treasure chest unless we carry it to a set destination, parabolically speaking. So it's a heavy load that we're carrying, but it's not for nothing. Hard work pays off, especially with the Lord who is fair. And you have to imagine all the different lifetimes that we felt this grief. This ain't our first time. This is not our first rodeo. You know, the grief and all the feelings we're experiencing now. Imagine all the other lifetimes of you feeling grief. And wrap it all up in one burrito. When the Lord gives us our reward, Lord willing, we're of that number. He's going to consider all the different lifetimes that we were doing the work, if we are those men, right? So it says, woe is me for my hurt, my wound is grievous, but I said, truly, this is a grief, and I must bear it. So we have to carry our burdens. We have to bear our burdens, because when you look into it, as irritating as the grief can feel, as unbearable it can feel sometimes, as inconvenient as it can feel sometimes, it's the Lord that's actually causing it. It's the Lord that's doing it to us. Let's stay in Jeremiah and go to Jeremiah chapter 45 and verse 3. Thou didst say, woe is me now, for the Lord hath added grief to my sorrow. I fainted in my sighing, and I find no rest. So remember, the elect are going to sigh and cry. And there's times it feels like you can't find no rest. There's times it feels like the hell just keeps coming. You just feel grievous dealing with our people, dealing with this society, dealing with yourself. Okay? It's a very, very tough battle. Okay? But we must bear it. Thou didst say, woe is me now, for the Lord hath added grief to my sorrow. I fainted in my sighing, I find no rest. And guess what? Here in this current condition, here in Babylon, okay, in other parts of the world where our people are found, this is not our rest. Micah chapter 2 and verse 10. Arise ye and depart, for this is not your rest. Because it is polluted, it shall destroy you even with a sore destruction. So seeing that this isn't even our rest, that's grievous. Who doesn't like rest? Who doesn't like, a moment to just sit back, get a breather, just rest, just chill? But this society really doesn't offer that for us. It gives us a impression of rest, but we really don't have rest. And then when you're working, you're looking forward to your days off. And then on your days off, you're thinking about work. This place totally consumes us with bullshit. Totally, weighs heavy on our mind. Okay? But that's okay. Because the Lord, He's praying for us. The Lord is with us. Let's close it with this. Let's read this one more time, and I'll go to John and I'll close it there. Micah 2 and 10, arise ye and depart, for this is not your rest. So how do you depart? You depart by turning back to Yahweh Ba'ashem Yahushai. You got to set aside those idols. You got to set aside adultery. You got to set aside arrogance and pride and so forth. Okay? You got to let go of eating shrimp. You got to let go of eating pork. All these unlawful foods. If Esau says it's law for you to do something that's against the scriptures, you don't do it. Okay? You have to separate from this place. If Esau told you you have to eat pork in order for you to keep your job, just making something up, well, you just got to lose your job. You got to depart from this place spiritually. That doesn't mean hop on an airplane and go to Jerusalem, or hop on a rocket ship and go to the moon. This is spiritually. We have to depart from this place spiritually. Okay? If let's say a married couple, they've been together, and the male or the female, they're present, their body is there, but it's like their mind is somewhere else. They're not really there. That's how we are in this ministry. It's like, yeah, we're in this society. We have to work and do things like everybody else, but our mind really isn't in this shit. Okay? Let's close it with John. This is the book of John, chapter 17, and verse 15. I pray not that thou shouldest take them out of the world, but that thou shouldest keep them from the evil. So all the grief, all the sighing and complaining that we're going through, it's not the will of the Lord to pull us out of this world full of grief and misery. Instead, it's really the Lord's will to see us fight. The Lord wants to see us endure. Okay? And seeing how we have this knowledge, wisdom, and understanding, which makes grievous matters that much more grievous, we have to remember, if the Lord wants to see us here, we should have the mentality of wanting to be here so that we can show him a good fight. Okay? I pray not that they shouldest taketh them out of the world, but that thou shouldest keep them from the evil. So we're hoping to be delivered from the evil to come. So all the BS that we're bearing now, we're hoping to bear it so that when the evil does come, we can be delivered from it. Okay? So as much as it's heavy in our mind to go through certain burdens and afflictions and chastisements, it's not the Lord's will to pull us out of the situation. It's actually the Lord's will to have us fight, and then through all of it, deliver us from what's to come. Okay? So I'm going to go ahead and wrap it up and give all thanks and praises unto Yahweh, Bahasham Yahweh Shai, Bahasham Warakakwa Dash, Shalom.